the show for real estate entrepreneurs. Writing good headlines and good hooks.
Yeah, guys, it's almost impossible to teach. I think some people get that and some people don't. It's kind of the best that I can teach it is I call peeling the onion, right?
Okay.
So most people will write a headline that's very direct, lose 30 pounds in 30 days or some, and that's how you get in trouble, right? Because you go to the easy. It's real easy to make a claim. It's real easy to, being more emotional is, emotionalizing a headline is much more difficult. But all you really have to do it well is to do what I call peel the onion. We'll stick to weight for a minute. So let's say somebody they're looking for weight loss or whatever. Why? Well, I want to lose some weight. Why? Well, I want to be skinnier. Why? And you'll find that maybe it's because they love nice clothes and they can't buy nice clothes in their size. Maybe it's because they love their grandchildren, but they can't get down on the floor and play with them and get back up.
So each why is one layer of the onion.
Every why is one layer of the onion.
Okay.
So the more times you can ask why and get an honest answer, when you get down to the core of things, there's a thing called Maslow's hierarchy of needs, right? And that hierarchy of what we need in life is at the bottom of it, basic, is food, water, and shelter, safety. The next thing is love. We need, really it's sex is the way the thing is sex, but we call it love because it's better than saying, hey, I want to hit it. I love you sounds better than I sure would like to have some Mugambo, you know what I'm saying? So, but anyway, and then it goes up to like other layers of self-improvement and the things that we need. So if it gets right down to most things you sell, they're primal needs. So there are three brains in your head. Most people don't know that. So you got three brain. You got a mammalian brain, you've got a prefrontal cortex, and you've got a reptilian brain. So there are three brains in your skull right now. There's a little bitty one back here. It's about the size of a walnut. It makes almost every decision we make. And that's called the reptilian brain. And the reptilian brain doesn't know how to say no. It only sees what it wants and it wants it. And then the mammalian brain is like a hard drive. So this brain's like a processor and this brain's like a hard drive. So it keeps a record of all of our experiences in life. Some even experiences we didn't have, but that our ancestors had, that we're born with, that are baked in, where we have natural fears of things. And then this front brain, the prefrontal cortex, is only really humans have that, and it's a very, very small dysfunctional version in primates. And that brain says no. That's all it does. That's its whole job.
That's your defense mechanism.
Yeah.
Okay.
That references this. It says, ooh, last time we did that was bad. Right?
Okay.
So, or, ooh, last time we did that was good. Maybe I'll let that through. So putting this prefrontal cortex to sleep is the secret to persuasion. That's what hypnosis is.
Okay.
I feel
like we're going deep right now. I like this.
When you're hypnotizing someone, you're turning off this prefrontal cortex so you can suggest or change the programming in this hard drive so that you'll process the information differently back here. But the best way to explain it that I know, and I've done this a bunch of times, so I've kind of had to get better at it. If there's food on the ground and a snake is crawling along and it sees the food, it's just going to go eat it. Even if there's a 1,200-pound gorilla in front of it that stomps the snake dead. Snake has no memory and has no judgment. It only knows to eat, protect itself against the elements, and reproduce. That's what's hardwired into all of us. This brain back here wants to get laid, get fed, and have a comfy place to sleep. That's all it's looking for, right? So if a dog is walking along, sees the food, sees the gorilla, and it has what's called a fight or flight response. So this is cooked into us. We don't have to process this with our brains. It says basically, if it's smaller than us, eat it. If it's bigger than us, run from it. And if it's the same size as us, have sex with it. I'm not kidding. Okay. Mate with it.
All right.
Right? So that's kind of it. Or maybe fight with it, right? If there's something you want to fight over.
Right.
So the dog would have a fight or flight response, see the gorilla and go, shit, and run off, right? I'm out. Because the dog at least has memory. It'll either run away because of memory because of natural fight or flight, or it'll run away because it's already had an encounter with a gorilla in the past. It didn't go well.
Not to mess with it.
Didn't go well.
Right.
Right. So the difference in those two kinds of animals and a human is, we can see the gorilla, we can see the food. We'll have a natural fight or flight immediately, right? But we have the ability to reason. No other animal has that. So we might be able to say, that's a big gorilla over there. He looks like he'd be slow. I've been in the desert 8 days. If I don't eat by tonight, I'm going to starve to death and die. So I don't have a lot of choice here. I think I can run and grab that food, grab it, and run up this tree before the gorilla can get me. And we can judge that sort of thing. Cars are going by, we can judge when and if to take off from the curb and go, right? Based on how bad we need to be on the other side.
Right.
If we're really in a hurry, we may take a higher risk.
Yeah.
But if we're not in a hurry, we'll wait until it's safer, right? So that's our ability to do that sets us apart from every other animal. If a dog's walking down the street, sniffs the butt of another dog and wants to have sex with it, they just have sex, right? And I've tried that in clubs before. You get in a lot of trouble.
Yeah, we don't recommend that.
You get real beat up. You get real beat up.
Yeah.
But no kidding. Right. So you think about that. I say it as a joke. I make jokes of most of this stuff just because it makes it a little more interesting to listen to. It's sort of boring otherwise. But if you're, why wouldn't we just walk into a bar, see a good-looking girl, go up, strip her down and start having sex with her? Well, they call that rape.
Yeah.
You can't do that, right? And it doesn't matter the desire of one or the other. That might be someone else's wife. That person might not like us at all. We may go to prison for that. There's all kinds of consequences that come with it. It can be worse. We could get married, right? It can be really bad. I'm kidding. I love you, honey. Stories, right? Hypnosis and stories and alcohol and drugs. Those are the only things that turn that brain off. So when you do want to go out and say, God, I just really need to have some sex, right? What's everybody do?
You're going to go to the club, have some drinks.
Get hammered. Yeah. You're going to turn that brain off. You're going to turn all that judgment off, and you're going to allow yourself to make bad decisions. But you need a chemical aid to do it. And it might be a bad decision, but you're going to allow yourself to make decisions without too much judgment or guilt, right?
Back to the peeling of the onion, right?
Yeah. Well, that's the promise. That has to be at the beginning.
Okay.
So you got to, at the beginning, you said how to write a good headline. So how do you write a good headline is figure out what it is they really want, not what they're saying they want or not even what they're looking for.
Okay. And then speak to that.
Yeah. So if someone's buying a new home, I'd say oftentimes they're trading up, right? So they're trying to increase their status, right? They want to increase their status. So tell them how it's going to increase their status. Tell them how proud they're going to be when they invite your friends will be so, your friends are going to be so impressed when they walk through the marble gateway of the blah, 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 right? Or if they're downsizing, so imagine how smart you'll appear to your friends.
Right.
You'll be living in this wonderful neighborhood. They always say buy the smallest home in the best neighborhood, and you'll be the smartest person in the neighborhood with this beautiful blah, 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 blah,
You'll
blah.
have so much less stress.
You'll have so much less stress. So think about why they're downsizing their home and play to that. It's not the message, the one message won't always work, right? It depends on the buyer. And it might not be able to spell that out in the ad, but you're certainly going to meet them in person if you show them the home or if you go to list the home. If I were a real estate agent, I'm certainly not. I think all these guys go in telling the client, I'm the best real estate agent in town. I'm going to sell your house faster than anybody. I'm going to sell it for more money than anybody. I wouldn't talk about any of that. You know what I'd talk about? Their next home. I would start letting them imagine themselves in that next thing they're really dreaming of. Because people, I teach this in a different thing that I teach from time to time. It's called replacement or a replacement offer and improvement offer. Improvement offers are very hard to sell. I want to teach you how to work out every day for the next year and be real fit. Right? Or I always use marriage counseling or an affair, right? Most people who have a bad marriage would rather just have an affair. They're just going to replace that spouse with another spouse. They don't really want to put the work in to go to marriage counseling and do all those things. That's improvement. It's hard and it requires work. Most people don't want to do that. Most people just want to replace. I did an offer. A friend of mine is here right now. Used to be in the dental market, and he was having a hard time with his business because he sold dentists on how to get more patients and improve their practices. It just didn't sell. He couldn't sell it for hardly anything. He did, but it was rough. And because he was teaching them how to improve their business.
That sounds like work.
When he made them an offer on how they can own self-storage units and not have to work behind the chair all day and go have a more relaxing lifestyle, it outsold everything he sold them. Even though the previous offer was much more congruent to them, that offer sold better because it was a replacement offer, not a improvement offer. So think about that. You know, they don't care about you or what you're and they do it to some extent, but that's not what's going to get them to list their house with you. If they have an emotional bond with you, if they like you, and the way we speed that process up in relationships is by stories. You know, Ryan always said, because we used to teach together, you know, a lot. And he said, it's so weird that I have students and you have fans. And Ryan's way smarter than I'll ever be, right? But he's very much a teacher. He's very good at it. He teaches. He said, first you need to do this, that. He's great at it. It's fantastic.
Yeah.
And I'll do like I'm doing here. You know, I'll be an idiot and I'll use some stupid colloquialism, or I'll let me tell you a story about that or whatever. Yeah. But oftentimes I can get a better bond with the audience. Even though
it's relatable.
Even though as a product, I'm a flawed product compared to Ryan, right? He's a better product.
Yeah.
But I can oftentimes outsell him. So like when I saw Donald Trump debate Hillary Clinton, I had a good feeling that she was in trouble. She's a very smart lady, but she talked very much in facts and numbers. And he told stories and used sound clips.
So that's almost like education versus entertainment.
Right. Yeah. Frank Kern told me one time that even in the business opportunity space, it's 90% inspiration, 10% information. People need to be inspired.
So sell them on what it's going to do for them.
Stories can also inspire. That's another thing that facts can't do. I had an unfortunate event, I'd call it, although it wasn't, it turned out to be a great event. But I was teaching human behavior and persuasion at one of our meetings we had, and Robert Cialdini, who wrote Influence, came into my breakout room, sat directly in front of me, and just waited for me to teach persuasion. I was like, fuck.
You're like, great.
Yeah. And he was actually really nice. He gave me a lot of good feedback. And he said something that I had never thought of. He said, anybody can argue with facts. It's impossible to argue with a story. And that's a big deal right there.
Yeah.
You can't argue with a story. Anybody will dispute facts. You know, the average home in this neighborhood is $300,000. No, it's not. I saw one for $295. You know, everybody, they just don't believe you automatically. We don't trust people. But if you start telling a story about, you know, I moved in here 5 years ago, me and my sheepdog and my husband, and you embed this fact that when we bought our house it was only $225,000, and the reason I got an appraisal with $325,000, and most of the houses around here were like that. And I was like, if embedded in a story, those facts become just part of the story, and they don't get argued with.
Yeah, that's a good distinction.
Yeah,
I love this stuff. I think you're giving some great insight into stories and how to leverage stories to help you sell.
To listen to this full Founders Club interview, go to foundersclub.tv.